Welcome, Gilbert and George. John Kaldor, thank you very much for bringing Gilbert and George here again. And I really like to start in the 60s. And all my life I give you nothing, and still you ask for more. Would you say this best describes your audience or yourself?
Oh, we sent that card to all of the other artists in a group show in Paris called Paris 14. So it's really a message for the other artists, not for the general public.
Well, we always felt that in general people always want something, you know, and they never get anything back.
Oh, okay. Well, perhaps we'll come to that later. Jack Freak Pictures. Can you tell us a little bit about that series?
That's our latest group of pictures. They're called the Jack Freak Pictures, and they happened because we had a huge retrospective at the Tate Modern, which went on to Europe and then to North America. And after the tour, we had the reverse of what an artist normally has after a retrospective. We had a positive trauma. Normally artists are traumatized by a retrospective, and they feel they cannot do another work. We had the trauma, but a positive one. We just burst into enormous energy and created pictures until, for some strange reason, 153, and then something or somebody switched off.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because we used to take this, we felt we became more and more freakish, you know. So when you get old, everything becomes more freakish in front of you, especially if you close your eyes, you know. And so we wanted to do this amazing group of works based on the freak, the Jack Freak, but the Jack came later, no, the Union Jack. First, only we did the Freak only, and we started to cut our faces to pieces to making flow like a headless, no, bodiless body, just a head and the eyes looking out at you. And we used to take always images of the winter trees that are in the back of our house, and we were able to use in an extraordinary threatening way that really started to speak to us. And then we thought, why not the Union Jack to make them even more, intense and asking difficult questions.
It was extraordinary because the first picture in the group was the one that gave us the most enormous freedom, because we were folding the image of a small medal, a footballer, and by folding him diagonally and then vertically and horizontally and then folding the ones that were folded again, they began to look obscene. And so the title of the picture, which gave us great freedom for all of the other pictures, was, we don't know why, it's not something we invented, it came out of nowhere. The picture is called the Metropolitan Police Annual Pornographic Football Awards. That freed us up a lot.
The eyes, in a sense, focusing on the soul, that's a very important part of your work. And
part of the body, the floating part of the body coming in from somewhere. And we never believe in a straight line thinking. We only believe in many different layers of thinking all the time. You know? We don't want to be a straight line. You know? We want multi-layered, we call it. You know? Even our vision has to be multi-layered all the time.
Because not only do we have a lot of lines of research going on all the time, and we're not sure which one we will plug into for the next group of pictures, when we're actually making pictures, there are lines of thought and lines of feeling. And again, it depends picture to picture which will happen. Because when we go to the studio, and we recommend this, we go completely dead-headed, completely zonked, as though we're blind and deaf, like that. Oh! Without ideas, without plans, and then how we are that day, how we are that month, how we are that year, is how the pictures have to be. Many artists take the pictures out of the air, ideas and thoughts and feelings, and we drag them out from inside of ourselves. It's from inside they come.
But we do need a big bank of images. That's very important. We need we need the words, you know? We need the images. So we are always taking in, before we make a group of works, we always take images of what I call of images that speak to us. They have to speak to us what we believe in. And we take many, many, many thousands and thousands again and again and again until they really speak to us about what we want to say.
In fact, we're looking for into the image, we're looking for the moral dimension. So we won't use the subject because it's nice or because it's this or because it's that, only when we find that it has a meaning. As Gilbert was saying, we took images of the trees behind our house for years and years and years and hardly ever used them. And then we realized that we were never taking them in summer. We were only taking them in winter when they're black and the sky is white, when they're dead. And then we realized that very soon spring would come and they would come alive again. And every year they have a spring, summer, autumn and winter, just as we have it only once. They have it every year. And then they seem to us to speak of a different relationship to human beings.
So when we started the first one, then we did the next one, another one, another one, another one, one after another, because we want to see the next move, next idea. Yeah. So we did until 150. And then we were totally exhausted, and that was it. And then, because they are sketches, they are 10% designs of the real piece. Yeah. But the 10% piece is so perfect, no? Yeah, that we are able to recreate the one-to-one imagery on top of it. No? But that's quite laborious. It's very laborious and have total concentration. Day and night we are doing it. And not only that, after we have to split it up in private galleries and museum shows that we are doing. And we not only do that, we do all installations of every museum, every private gallery, all the invitation cards, all the banners, everything is done by us. Yeah. All the catalogs.
And it's 10% of thousands of images.
No, it's right? A 10% sketch of the picture, rather like antique artists did. Right. And they do a small thing like that, and then it's blown up to the real, actual picture.
Maybe we only use maybe 5% of the images that we take.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go to Oscar Wilde for a moment.
Not a queen here.
And he said one should either be a work of art or wear a work of art, and one could easily say that Gilbert and George do both, and because your suits are indispensable sort of image of yourselves in regards to your living sculptures. Can you, your relationship with your tailors, I'm intrigued about that.
I mean, it started...
It came out of opposition, really. When we left St Martin's School of Art, not having been the goody-goody students, we wouldn't have a chance of a grant or a free studio or part-time teaching job or anything. Yeah? So there we were, alone in the world. And coming from a lower-class country background, we wanted to succeed. So like people go for an interview well-dressed with a collar and tie, we did that. Very simple.
Yes, and then we realized, oh yes, if we don't have a studio, we can still be works of art. And that was the beginning of our biggest invention, to make ourselves what you call the object of our art, the subject of our art. And we never, that's it. After that, that's it. We are the subject of what we are doing.
And the suits themselves, they are also part of the subject, they're part of...
It's a brand in some way. They were done first, for many, many years. We had a Jewish tailor next door to us called Mr. Lustig, and he died, so he sold us to another Mr. Chapman, and then he sold us to another one. So we went from Jewish tailor to Jewish tailor. It was just extraordinary stuff, because at the moment they are not tailors anymore.
It's all died out. Yes. Now we will have probably a Maltese or a Cypriot maybe. No.
What did he say, the last tailor, about
the last tailors, they retired. And we said, why didn't your son, they had two sons, aged 20 and 23 or something, why didn't they take over the business? And he said, do you know what they call the son of a Jewish tailor? I said, I have no idea. He said, a brain surgeon. Also, it's very important to remember that the suit is not only part of the sculpture, it's also enormously practical. You're never searched at airports, you can always get a table in a restaurant. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. You're accepted everywhere. It's sort of normal, average. We always say if you put every suit from 1890 to 2010 into a computer, and press the button average, you'd come up roughly with a suit like this. Yeah?
That's what we wanted, yeah.
We also said we also didn't want to be artists like the artists that were around us, who tended to have very strange hairstyles or very strange whiskers or very paint bespattered trousers and odd kaftan things. We said, no, we want to be tidy. We want to be the artists the mother wouldn't be ashamed of. It didn't work out entirely like that.
The ties, you do, and the ties they're not...
The ties are given
Yes.
by a company that they used to be very big fans of us, and I don't know about now, but they gave us, I don't know, 200 or 300 different ties.
Very good, very
Yes.
good. The restoration of your home, you've said that it was one of the biggest projects or the most challenging things you've ever done.
I was quite interested because in 1973 we managed to get enough money together to buy our own house. And the moment that we moved into that house, we were the first time free people. It's extraordinary how buying your own house is the best thing in the world. And after that we started, because we started to restore the house, no? Day and night we restored the house. It took us 5 or 6 years. And at the same time we did some of the best artworks.
The dirty words, pictures in fact.
Or Bloody Life,
Bloody
or
Life. Dead boards, dusty corners.
Red Mornings, Mental, all these pieces we did at the same time.
It was
But
interesting.
the restoration is so perfect down there, after that, once we finish it, we never touched the house again. We never had to do a piece of painting or nothing. We just, that's it, finished.
It was very good because at that time there was no general expertise. There were no television programs about restoring houses or magazines or books. So we had to find our own way. It was very good.
And it is quite a difficult house because it is an 18th century house, 1720. So we had to play, it's very fragile because all the what do you call, the walls are paneled with wood inside. No? It's quite nice.
Yes.
They're not sturdy, they're rather flimsy. So you have to nurse them back to life.
We even did electrics.
Really?
Oh yes, everything.
Well, you wouldn't be able to do that today, I don't think. You need a license for everything.
But we don't tell them.
I'd like to go to the fundamental pictures for a moment, and like the collecting, the analysing, the photographing, eventually making the pictures from bodily fluids and excrements. That's a very engaging personally, and I'm kind of interested how that work changed you and your relationship to each other.
It's a very curious thing because it started not how anyone would imagine. We used to take images of raindrops on the cars outside of our house because, as we all know, rain and moisture is part of us and part of the whole universe, and we're all dependent on that. And we like to take images of these little raindrops on the polished cars. And we used to start to colour them yellow, so it would look like piss, or we could have piss in the title. And then we thought, for the sake of authenticity, we could use real piss, not that it would look any different. Yeah? So we bought a very special microscope and put a drop of piss onto a slide and took images of it. And it looks exactly the same as the ones on the cars.
It looked like water at the beginning. It
Yes.
was so interesting.
Nothing special, but we liked it because at least we could say it was piss. Yeah? And then we stopped work that day, and then we couldn't remember whether we switched off the electricity in the microscope. So we ran down, and just to check whether it was still on, we just looked through the lens. And there was that drop of piss transformed into a Chinese garden. As it dried, the surface, not what was in the piss, but the surface had become a sculpture, like a relief, like a coin.
Yeah, it creates some
Strong.
kind of mountains, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you create the shadows, you know, and it became like the most beautiful wallpaper, like flowers. And after that, I think for 2 months, non-stop.
We went mad.
Really,
We hardly
thousands and thousands.
We hardly ever had to go to the lavatory. And it was extraordinary, because every day they were different. Sometimes they looked like sticks or blossoms or
Or
twigs
writing,
or
Islamic writing, it looked like. Extraordinary stuff.
And
I
then
mean,
we tried sweat afterwards,
yeah,
which
we
was
didn't
very good.
use, our sweat is different again. That is more, but we didn't use a lot in the end because we did so much.
What did this
And the shader was quite different. I remember the author used to ask us where we where we got them.
Where you got them, or how you do it? You mean?
Where you got the shit from?
Yeah.
Hey, it's journalists usually say, where do you get the shit? That's just ridiculous.
Oh, yes.
And they asked, in the end we said Harrods.
But
And I remember we had this interview with not Jonathan Ross, and we said, in the hand.
To the studio.
Yeah?
Sure, it's quite interesting. When we launched the Naked Shit picture show in the South London Gallery, we were so innocent that when we were asked why shit, yeah, by the journalists, we didn't know exactly how to reply. So we sort of tried to fudge it a bit. And then after being asked that 17 times, of course we got it immediately. We said, if it had been apples in the pictures or melons, no one would have said, why apples? Because they're goody-goody things from God or Jesus. Yeah? Shit asks questions, apples don't. There's no... It's very simple, there's no moral dimension to fruit. Shit has a moral dimension.
Gilbert, you talked about discovering weapons also.
They were like guns in the piss. We had extraordinary stuff.
In the piss, was it?
We felt everything was inside the machine, and the whole world was inside the drops of piss.
Yeah.
And that we thought maybe we are made of that, no? Inside there is full of guns. And
Yeah.
Which is true, because DNA has shown that now. You can just have a scrap of a person and you can identify that person miles and miles away.
Yes.
So we began to think that maybe the you in you is not just in the head, or as people thought in backward times, in the soul, but maybe it's all over you. Maybe you all over.
Right,
And DNA does show that.
Yes.
for us it was extraordinary.
Yes.
I mean, dedicated for years, for 1 or 2 years that we took images non-stop. And it's very good because we are doing it
Yes.
with ourselves.
And it is interesting, why are there swords and daggers in this and shapes in that? And there are little planets in spunk. If you magnify spunk, there are always little planets there, 2 or 3 in each drop of spunk. It's quite extraordinary.
A lot of
So
babies.
the world is in there.
And planets like in the solar system, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks
absolutely.
like a solar
Absolutely.
system, yes.
Right.
Even the drops of blood that we took. It's very funny because then we went to the hospital to ask if they could, what do you call it, cut us a little and let some blood out in a bottle.
Yes.
We went there.
Yes, because cutting yourself every day.
That's not so good. So they put in a needle and took some blood out in a bottle, no? And we.
It's quite nice for the first few days.
But the problem was that when we did the piss ones, no, everybody wanted to be in our pieces.
The two or three close friends we have, we confided that we were doing this project with piss and the microscope, and they were all very keen immediately. Could I be in the pictures, please? So they both, we won't say who they were, but
Very famous art critic,
One very
probably the
famous.
most famous one in England, wanted to be in the pictures.
he
yeah.
came with his sample, yeah? And so we thought, why not use it? Doesn't make any difference. Yeah? He was completely abstract, nothing. Right. Totally. Day after day.
Very
nothing
disappointed
there.
he was, yeah.
Minimal. It's true. It's quite true.
One, art for all, it's something that you really are dedicated to, and even yesterday was a great example of
I think
your
we
art.
succeeded.
Absolutely.
So
If,
far.
if people who were there, they saw a line of people lined up for their Valentine's card.
Even our big shows, the big museum shows, we
Yeah.
succeeded. Because I wouldn't say they're what you call, because our art asks questions. I really believe that. And that's for us very important. Difficult questions. But it is part of humanity. It's part in taking art down to the level of everybody and trying to, what you call, confront them with our images.
I think because we also made a complex art. Because so many people, we checked some years ago with some young friends in London when art became very, very famous. Again, yet another spurge. And even our young Bangladeshi friends who'd normally been only interested in computers or something, they'd heard about this modern art, and wanted to be part of it. And how could they do that? Yeah? And we said, buy a copy of Time Out and look at the list of galleries and you go to the galleries. Yeah? So we were very excited and went off. A couple of weeks later we met them again by chance and we said, how was it? And they said, too simple. That was a wonderful reply. They had their lives are filled with issues, which are race, religion, sex, drugs, employment, family problems, huge, amazing issues.
And it's
they cannot
not in
find
art.
Yeah, not in art.
Yes.
So they want an art that addresses something of that, yeah?
Yes.
That allows them to think in the gallery about themselves. Not that they just have to look and be amazed by some idiotic circle or square. Yeah?
And
No names, no names.
but it's also about making images accessible. Like
Oh, yes.
you're
The
very
language
giving
is very
it.
important. There has to be a language that they are able to understand. For us, is very important.
Yes.
And it has to, because we know that we only have maybe 3 or 4 seconds to grab them when they go into the show. No?
Yes.
If they are not grabbed, it's finished. We lost them. So.
And they have to be images and pictures that can address people in different ways. They can't be just one way. We always remember,
Sorry.
it often happens in that. We were at the first day of an exhibition in The Hague, I think it was, and a lady came up to us and said, "Congratulations, this is a wonderful show. I've never seen such a joyous explosion of happiness and colour." I think it's absolutely thrilling. I can't tell you how thrilled and emotional I am about that. And we said, "Thank you very much," and she was thrilled away, and then 10 minutes later a gentleman came up and said, "I must congratulate you, gentlemen. I think you're the only artist that managed to reach the deeper, darker depths of my soul and address
Same
my
picture.
misery and unhappiness." The same pictures, yeah.
And of course, a 13-year-old boy who, in regards to sexuality and
Yeah.
and
He's the
seeing-
one who took the trousers off in front of...
You didn't go that far in the interview.
but no, when we had a big tea show, no?
Yes.
There were all these young boys going in taking their
Chinese
trousers
film.
off.
So it's called mooning.
Mooney.
And what did they...
One of the invigilators told us a very nice story, that he listened to a nice middle-class lady with 2 small children standing in front of our picture called Sperm Eaters, very silent, and then one of the little children says, "Can you do that, Mummy?" and she, being very educated and very sweet and gentle, said, "Sometimes, darling."
I want to ask you about your philosophy of beauty. You make statements about that constantly. Can you? I know it's a difficult thing to ask, but
In some ways it's quite simple. It's beauty for meaning. We never like beauty for its own sake. Beauty should carry the message.
I think beautifies the being able to be a total, free, liberal person. I really believe that.
Because you.
That's what we're trying all the time.
It's
to
connected
be,
with art for all as well.
Yeah.
Because very early on we realized that a lot of our contemporary artists were falling in love with art as their careers developed. So they would love art and they would love having an artistic life and having artistic friends and an artistic home and artistic holidays. And we thought what we fell in love with was the viewer of art, because that's what we're here for. We're here for the person. We say art is what happens between the viewer and the picture. That is the art.
emotions. But even because beauty in some way is changing the world through that, what they call morality. We always talk about morality because changing what is there in a better way.
Yes.
We don't go back to the church to change the world. We believe in the artistic thought to change the world. We really believe that. Not only artists, everybody, scientists, artistic free will thought. No?
Creative thought, really, and the force of culture.
It's always a classical question of truth in your work.
It has to be true. If we don't like it.
And we only believe in falling into finding new truths as well. Yeah? That's why we're not completely conscious when we go to the studio. If we were, we would do pictures like yesterday. So by having this cut-off system, we can fall into some truth we hadn't thought of before.
Yeah.
Just some delicate humanistic thing that you don't find by going to the doctor or the police station or to the church.
Forcing ourselves, blinked eyes. We don't want to look. We don't open our eyes. We just all what is inside ourselves. That's why we never go near art ourselves. We never go to galleries, museums. Look, for the last 30, 40 years, we never touched it. Sometimes they squeeze us into one place. But we personally don't go. Because we want to only concentrate, we want to be in front of a naked world, not in front of an artwork. To understand art in life, yeah.
Which is all part of...
Yeah.
Raw material, it's not digested material.
We don't like brain pollution, call it.
Yes.
Brain pollution.
I want to now go back 1973, if I can, and your friendship with John, and how John approached you. I understand this was the third time you performed the singing sculpture in.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No.
We showed in Europe and
In America, yeah.
and then came
to Australia,
Sydney, and then Melbourne.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how?
I think John had seen the singing sculpture.
Or been told about it by Iliano or somebody else, I don't know.
By Christo, actually.
Ah, yes.
Ah, yes, because he would have seen it in New York. Yeah.
No, you went to meet them when they did the hanging curtain in Colorado.
Ah, yes,
Oh,
we
yes,
went
Michael
there.
Sonneman took us there.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. In Rifle, a small village called Rifle. Yeah. No, we were very excited as baby artists to be invited to halfway across the world to present a singing sculpture. We thought that was very exciting.
And we had this gallery, Nigel Greenwood in London came with us, and we had an extraordinary time. It was
Wild time.
Wild time. And even at that time, we were already starting to go into the drinking sculptures. So not only the singing sculpture during the day, we did the drinking sculpture in the evening every night. And it was,
I'm going to get to that.
Only
They
at
were
John's insistence.
monumental sculptures.
We blame John.
Because and the laws of sculptors, have those laws changed?
it's quite funny because
30 years on? Or
it's quite
40 years on?
interesting because we were quite naive writing it
Yes.
down, because young boys, no? But we stuck to it.
And we would stand by them.
Oh yes,
The Lord chisels still.
yes, God. No?
We've always been,
So don't leave your bench for long.
we've always dealt with religion in some way because we felt that the modern artists, by leaving that out, were wrong. That religion is here. The streets of every Western city, the schools, the university, the judiciary, everything's involved with the example of Christ on the cross. Yeah?
Yes.
And we thought it's stupid to leave it out, to say that I'm a sophisticated modern artist and I'm an atheist. Of course my cleaning lady goes to church. That's too cruel a line. So we always in some way try to deal with it, yeah? Even when we're very against it in many ways. We've always been very involved. We did a
Yes,
lot of research.
schizophrenic, I would call ourselves, about religion. Rather hated.
We would say that we were Greco-Romano, Judeo-Christian secularists.
Very complicated.
Not by choice.
Well, this is your third visit to Australia. You also came to Queensland.
We did a brief visit in
previous-
between these two.
Yes, one day. We were trying to set up a show in
forgotten where
the
now.
museum. What's
the
the name?
gallery.
Contemporary art museum of
Yes,
Ah, yes. Yeah.
but it didn't work out.
We were on the way to Seoul, I think.
I think we were on the way to China. at
Yeah,
that time.
China. Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay. And yesterday, any stories to declare? The experience of having all these people? Yes, apparently there was 3,000 people just listening to your talk yesterday.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
wonderful. Very, very rewarding. Sometimes journalists say, why do you do it? Why do you spend all this time working?
Yes.
And we say, well, ultimately it's for the final moment when the pictures are finished, they're hanging in the gallery, it's a private view, with a glass of wine in one hand, and we're surrounded by teenagers licking us all over.
That's what we're doing it for.
But that doesn't last long, so we have to start again. No, we want a response, we want to feel that people
Yes.
get what we are saying, yeah?
Art for all.
Art
Yes.
without a response is for us meaningless.
It's the force of culture becoming love, in fact, that's what it is, because there's no greater force than love, yeah?
Yes.
And culture is that, yeah?
Mm.
When you read a book, you side with the police or the robbers, and you feel your life in that story. It's an amazing, powerful force,
It is.
whether it's poetry or pictures or whatever.
And it's only in the free world we are able to do that, no? Like if you are in Islam, religion is not allowed to. Art is not really accepted, no?
The novel
Or
is
the
not
novel is not accepted, no? You're not a free person.
That's why we enjoy these two amazing privileges, which we're always very conscious of, that in the morning we can go to the studio and bolt the door and say in our pictures whatever we want. Whatever we see or feel or hope or dread, we can put there. Nobody can interfere with that.
Yes.
And then the second privilege is, when the picture's finished, be able to take them out into the world. To take 30 Jack Freak pictures to Naples and 50 Jack Freak pictures to Brussels. And again, no one can say anything.
And that freedom is because we arrange a system that is very, that we are able to do it ourselves. No? We don't need full of people helping us to make our art. We are doing it totally ourselves. So we are in total control. And it doesn't even cost a lot of money to making it. So we have total freedom. It's much bigger.
We are very, very keen on the idea of mental freedom. That's why we don't have a kitchen or a car or a holiday home or anything. So we want to have this enormous space in our brains whereby we can live on another level. When we're actually creating pictures, we are not like we are now. Yeah? We feel completely heightened awareness of things. Everything's different. Yeah?
Yeah.
And when we stop designing some pictures and walk over to Liverpool Street Station, everything is completely different. Every bus, every person. That's because we're coming back to normal life. Yeah? Normal life doesn't look the same. Normal life, in a way, is in the studio. Which is normal life, the studio or the street? We don't know sometimes.
Yes.
But yes, total concentration. That's it.
But it is an amazing
Even but we
privilege.
arrange that for ourselves. We arrange that vertical life is very simple, so that we have full time to do whatever we want.
Because about love, the East End of London, Fournier Street, where you've spent a long time,
45 years.
45 years, and you've seen a lot of changes. Do you want to just briefly talk about those changes?
I mean, we love the East End of London. I mean, George took me there in 1967, and it was just extraordinary. I mean, it really looked like walking into a Dickens book. It's just fantastic. All this rotten houses, all this, what you call this yellow light in the evening, especially at night, when the sky is black. So it becomes like moving through a tunnel of this extraordinary, what you call East End of London, where all the trams, all the prostitutes, all the artists, and all the immigrants. It was all Jewish for a long time, and it was just extraordinary, magic. And now it has changed, but we like change.
Yeah.
We accept change.
We always say that the synagogue is now a mosque, our church is now an event centre, the vicarage is a little gallery, the Jewish off-license is now a Hindi music centre, the Polish off-license is an adult clothing shop.
Synagogue is a...
That's changed again, yeah. And even, amazingly, the gents' public lavatories on Whitechapel is now Indian restaurant. And some young friends were recommending it to us. They said it's very, very good food, the decor is very amusing, the service is lovely, it's quite inexpensive, and it's eat-in or take-away. I said it always was. Explain it to your neighbour if they don't quite get it.
Moving a little bit away from East London, and the super liberal message and Europe, and also the rise of fundamentalism. You've made comments about that in various.
Yes, we saw it coming a long time ago, because we have the mosque at the end of our street now. Yeah. And for many 10 or 15 years, they always used to put stickers on the lampposts. Quite anti-West, and quite anti-people like us in a big way. And we collected all those stickers because they talked to us in an amazing way. Even they broke down our doors because we were Christians, or queers.
There were 7 houses kicked in the same night. They were all non-Muslim houses. Yeah. And we even made pictures very early on, even before the attacks in New York. We had pictures, 9 dark pictures, and
or Sharia law. I mean, 10 or 15 years ago, nobody knew what it meant. Now everybody knows.
Yes.
It's also very mysterious that in 1980 we did a very beautiful picture called Mullah, and for years everyone said, what is a mullah? What is a mullah? Everyone wanted to know what a mullah was. And then after September 11th, nobody asked what a mullah was anymore. Suddenly everyone knew.
But we are quite against totalitarian ideas that you cannot change.
Because yesterday you said, Gilbert, about Naples and Istanbul being one of your favourite places to visit.
After London, yeah.
After London. And is that an aesthetic position, or is that
chaos? I really believe that. Don't you think it's a strange chaos that we like? That everything works in some way, but it's a total chaos. Even London, like if you go to East End of London, there are I don't know, 200-300 different languages spoken, And in some way, everybody understands each other. No? And that's what we like.
Tolerance because of chaos we like. Yeah?
Yes.
When life is limited, people become very intolerant. And when everything is there, the only way to live is to be kind and gentle. If not, it's much better.
You have to go along because you have to survive. No?
Yes. Yeah. And you like that.
We like that. Yeah.
We depend on that even. Yeah? We wouldn't be able to create if we were in a constrained environment. That's why we dislike the country, because it's intolerant. We always tell the story of, we are country boys, we come from a country background. It took us years to become normal urban persons in London. At first, as you saw in the slides, we used to use nature to express ourselves because we didn't know how to use buildings and policemen and
Yes.
streets and chewing gums and matchsticks.
Camping it up in front of trees.
And then one day we'd forgotten about the nature, so we went to see a friend in the west of England, in the country, and we got up very early, and no one was awake. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, we walked through this tiny village, and it was so quiet, there was no traffic, of course. It was on an estuary, with birds swooping down onto this wonderful silver estuary. You could hear insects, it was so quiet. And we walked up this lovely little high street, medieval buildings, and came to the parish church with these lovely crooked tombstones and the flowers. And outside the church there was a young couple with a pram, which to us just seemed to complete the beauty, Arcadian, extraordinary scene. And we were enchanted. And we said to the young couple, "Good morning." And the young man turned and said, "Fuck off, you weird-looking cunts." That's the intolerance of the country.
Reminded us never to go back. That's very good.
We ain't been back since.
I don't know if you've noticed, but Will Self has just published another book on psychogeography and situationist concepts, and looking at emotions and behaviours in drab environments, and like the dirty words pictures of the mid-70s confronted viewers with graffiti and impoverishment. Do you want to?
They're quite extraordinary pictures, the dirty words. We still believe that. They were very difficult for people to understand and accept when they were first seen in 1977.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of stick from those pictures, from a lot of different people. It took us a while to be able to free ourselves from those, especially even 1980 pictures that we did, when we did trams, and that's quite difficult because we were attacked in many different ways about those pictures. And so even, okay, we were able to support the attack, but it was still inside ourselves.
But the interesting thing is that pictures stand still, and people in the world, that changes. So that 25 years after 1977, we showed the Dirty Words pictures all together for the first time in London, and people were amazed and excited and loved the pictures. Yeah? And some of the people were the people who'd been so difficult about them in 77. And we said, "But don't you remember that you had a difficulty with these pictures?" No, we've always loved them, always loved them. The people have changed. Pictures have stayed the same.
But we have a very good idea, because we make a group of pictures, we never look back. The next group. We never look back. We are not sentimental about what we did before, not at all. We're just the next. Yeah. We are not yes. We always get up in the morning trying to do something better. We always believe the next group are going to be even better. That's it. Yes. We believe that. We believe that it has to be a more total idea in the end. Yeah.
And this was during the drinking sculptures period too, or was it just before?
I think that was, yes, I think it probably was, yeah.
I think that came out because there was an international touring exhibition called When Attitude Becomes Form, or Live in the Head it was also called. And it was a show that went around the world to different cities, and wherever it alighted, a local curator was asked to contribute 2 or 3 artists from that city. And it was coming to London, and we knew the person who was going to select, and so we were very excited. We knew that we were going to be for the first time in a great international art exhibition. And then, much to our total amazement, he didn't select us. So we felt completely doomed and unhappy, and we thought this is a missed opportunity that's going to threaten our whole life as artists. Yeah? So what could we do about that? The only thing we could do would to go to the private view of the opening as living sculptures. And we went with the multicolored metallized heads and hands and stood in the middle of the private view, and of course completely stole the show. And at the end of the evening, a young man came up to us and said, amazingly, "I am Konrad Fischer, coming to Düsseldorf to exhibit." Every artist would have cut off their legs for that invitation.
So that was quite extraordinary, because then we went to Germany and did a single sculpture in many, many different places, and we became very famous overnight. And so Konrad Fischer said to us, "But you have to leave something in my gallery behind, no?" And we said, "Okay, what should we do?" We do drawings, no? So we did walking, viewing, and relaxing, 3 big drawings, charcoal and paper sculptures, we used to call them. And we did that and asked, and Konrad Fischer said, "So how much are they?" And we said, £1,000. No? That was a lot of money those days. No? And he sold it next day. It was extraordinary. That's when we started the drinking sculpture. And what it took a long time to end up this one.
Yes,
it took 10 or 20 years to finish this, the drinking sculpture.
Because Gordon Byrne interviewed you in 1974, and Gilbert, you said this is about drinking so much, nerves, meeting people, and so on, especially in the art world. It's so boring meeting all these people to us. So if you get completely smashed, you really are free. How do
Probably, it's probably true.
I'm sure that's why drinking is such a big part of Western life and culture, of course.
Yes, you don't want to be, you want to be on a different level, no? I think drugs and drinking are all the same, no? We're trying to move away from being normal.
No, we don't need it in that way. We wouldn't, absolutely, we have other concentrated ways.
No, and the teetotal drink.
Absolutely.
Because you talked about being in the studio and having
never
to readjust.
Drinking in the studio.
No, I mean readjust.
We never drink at home.
Not even in the house, unless we have
We
guests.
never drink one single glass alone in our house.
We have very clear rules. And no drugs.
Never did that.
And
no drugs.
No drugs until after lunch.
No, that's very important. We never have alcohol. We have some alcohol in the house when friends come, like champagne, that's about it. But we never drink a glass of wine or champagne in our house alone.
Like we don't have food in the house as well. Yeah?
Never have food. Not one piece of bread or one egg or nothing.
But it was a very dark period, the drinking sculpture.
I don't know about that.
In a very good way.
We did. Did you see the what they call the Dark Shadow book?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that we were able at that time to deal with pictures and images in a way that even a person who's very, very miserable and unhappy going to a gallery or seeing a picture of ours would understand that we understood that unhappiness. I think that made people trust our pictures. They didn't feel, oh, we're just some jolly artists doing some nice
But
designs.
we were not the only ones who were drinking. No? I remember at that time we used to go out with a certain amount of artists, no, to different clubs, no, and holding up the ceiling. No? But we were, what they call, all the other artists went back to the studio and started to do squares on the wall, no? Or one line. No? At least we were doing the right stuff the next day.
We were dealing with it, yeah? Using it.
I guess my final question is really for the artists in the room and in cultivating international opportunities. Do you have any advice
On the artists?
For how you cultivate international opportunities?
There's all the baby artists ask us how we can help with their careers. There is no way like that. There is no secret. But we do have advice for art students, two pieces of advice for art students. The first one is when you get up tomorrow morning, sit on the edge of the bed, close your eyes and think, what do I want to say to the world today? And don't open your eyes and get up until you've decided. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you use a paintbrush or a pencil or a computer, you just have to know what you want to say to the world today. And the second piece of advice is...
Fuck the teachers.
Well, can we thank Gilbert and George? Okay, any questions?
Because I have the roving mic, can I ask the first question?
Yep.
All right. This issue of artistic partnership and the entire question of the productive creative relationship, which is quite common, for example, yourselves, of course, Christo and Jean-Claude, the early careers of Ule and Marina Abramovic, two artists who, of course, that worked at COFA early on, and our own in Australia, Charles Green and Lyndall Brown. Could you possibly work separate?
We simply believe that we are two people, but one artist.
One artist. It's not a couple.
And it's not a collaboration.
It's not a collaboration because we are what they call, we made ourselves the living object. And it's not like one does the cooking, the other one does the eating. It's not that. And because we realize what we are so concentrated, so we know exactly where to go. For us, there is a goal in front of us, like a cloud of where we want to go. No? So it doesn't matter exactly how we get there, no? Who is moving in and out, no? But we want to go there. And that's it.
And it's a mystery as well. We always think that it must be terrible to be an artist, because you sit there with the canvas in front of you, with the field and the clouds, and you don't know whether to put a cow in or a second cow, and you ask the question, but there's nobody to answer you. Yeah? With two people, say, yeah, put a couple more cows in, it's great.
Hi there. Do you ever disagree?
We always call that the great heterosexual question. and the answer is no, but we wouldn't tell you even if we did. No, we don't believe in discussion, as it says in the rules, the laws of the sculptors, because we only believe in going forward. And going forward means believing together. Disagreement just holds things up. You can have a board of governors having meetings for 3 days. In the end, they have to agree and go forward. So why not do it at first instead of wasting 3 days?
Two together is an amazing force,
It's a strength.
really extraordinary force, and you are able to protect yourself from other people in a big way. You know, you don't get totally depressed because you have another person next to you. What you call, and that's an extraordinary power.
And we need that as
Yes,
well.
we need that for criticism and a lot of other stuff. Alone would be very difficult. I don't believe we wouldn't be able to do what we did alone.
I'm sure a single person would be impossible to do the Dirty Words pictures, for instance, or even the fundamental pictures. I can't imagine doing them alone.
No.
I'm sure Gilbert would say the same thing. No, we do believe that in an ideal twosome or relationship, the single person is more powerful than they would be alone. That Gilbert makes me more able to be myself and vice versa. That's very important as well. The individual lives more ably in a relationship. That's why the world is divided into twos all over. It's the most common unit.
Because you guys work together as an artist, touch wood, if something terrible happened, one of you guys still doing works or not? Or stop?
You mean if one of us fell under a bus or something?
Touch wood.
Fear not, we always cross the road together.
You'd said you didn't have a kitchen and that you don't keep any food. Is that right?
Yes, we always go out to a restaurant. Already at 6:30 in the morning. We go at 6:30 in the morning for breakfast, then we go at 11 o'clock for lunch, then we are starting walking towards our restaurant at 6 o'clock in the evening, and we end up at 8 o'clock.
And we
Thank you
believe
very
that
much.
we believe that nobody in the world likes cooking. We believe they've been brainwashed very simply. Do you know that all cookery books are always pro-cooking? There's never any anti-cookery books. So of course we believe it's nice and good.
I wonder if you could just elaborate on that idea of the value of experimentation, allowing artists to do things that they couldn't otherwise do in terms of personal expression, whatever it might be, in terms of your experience.
Yes, we do believe free thought came from artistic thought. The idea of free thought, that we're able to be free, came from artistic people, no? Philosophers, writers, all that. They freed ourselves from stagnation of religions.
That's why we say we're not showing life or illustrating life. We're trying in a small way to form our tomorrows. We hope that people who see our exhibitions will be a little bit different after they've seen them. We never want to congratulate the viewer on being how they are. We want them to question their conventions as we are questioning our conventions every day.
And we do have a supplementary last question.
I was really interested in your suite of notions about the commandments for sculpture, which were written some time ago. I believe I'm right in thinking that you've also written another set of commandments. Is that correct? Commandments for living, something like the
10 commandments for ourselves, yes.
Could you talk just a little more about those?
Well,
the most important one, which is, thou shalt not know exactly what thou dost,
but thou shalt do it.
Thank Gilbert and George, please.